So this video on Fabio Wardley will be separated into two phases. Phase 1, we will discuss his victory against Joseph Parker. And phase 2, we will discuss what could happen if he faces Usyk. So with that being said, let's get started. Boxing philosophy is about understanding. How does Holyfield land his left hook? How does Canelo land his left hook to the body? Who owns the best jab in boxing, and why? These questions open doors. They push us to explore the different elements of the sport, the punches, the timing, the rhythm. But also there are less visible layers, glove size, contracts, psychology, and the unique environment each trainer builds. What truly makes a great trainer? Is it the strategy they design or the culture they create in the gym? Boxing philosophy is about asking sharp questions, even when there are no clear answers. Because in the search for answers, understanding grows. So Joseph Parker and Fabio Wardley collided in a razor-edge chess match that turned into a brawl. Early jabs, sly feints and sharp footwork gave way to thudding right hands and cunning traps. Parker's double jab, double left hook set the rhythm and was met by Wardley's surge and snipe uppercut, which flipped the momentum. This was composure versus chaos, creativity versus power, and a hotly debated stoppage that asked the question if intelligent defense was ignored. The 11th survival test, hold, smother, pivot, frames the fight's cruel calculus. And then, what's the road ahead? Parker's rebuild and rematch questions, or Wardley's ascent towards elite names, where scouting, timing, and venomous counters make every second feel loaded with jeopardy. This was truly a great fight. Parker starts round one with a double jab to the body. To me, that's like quite dangerous. And then he does I believe it was like a triple jab left hook. And that, of course, represents punch creativity. And then we have the double jab, double left hook. And, I love it when fighters double up with the left hook. And Parker was very confident. He was very confident going through the phases in round one. And here was an observation. Parker had no hesitancy to let his hands go. Now think of this. Against Deontay Wilder, he was much more cautious. So my question at the time was, is Parker respecting Wardley's power enough? Now Parker is throwing the left hook off the back foot, very fast, and it's a very dangerous punch. And at this point, Parker is out jabbing Wardley, and he's out jabbing him significantly from what I can see. Now Parker is subtly also looking for the right hand, so it's like he's setting a deflection trap. And what you know it, a right hand counter, and Wardley looks a little bit dazed. But Fabio then finds a right hand to the top of the head. Clearly, the way he positioned that punch would suggest that they've worked on that. So Fabio is now throwing bombs, but he's using his feints, which make it harder to judge or read the attack or counter the attack. Wardley throws two right hands through the target. So he throws it through the target as opposed to at the target. And guess what? Parker is in trouble, clearly. Wardley is having success with the right uppercut. And Parker is trying the left hook counter, but it's unsuccessful, and it's a dangerous counter to throw. So Wardley is doing the jab to the body and he's throwing the right hand to the top of the head. And it's particularly dangerous. I feel that as the fight progressed from round two, Parker actually started to regain some control over the fight. This is where Parker's boxing intelligence and experience is showing. he is able to keep composed and stick to the game plan. Losing composure is one of the things that separates levels in boxing. It really does separate levels in boxing, and intelligent boxers maintain composure. Intelligent boxers maintain composure, and there are a variety of battles here. The jab battle, the feint battle, the movement battle, and the variation of punching at and through the target. So I feel that Wardley sets quite clever traps. Before you judge, let me explain. When he gets hit, particularly when he gets hit flush, he retreats. And what this means is that the opponent naturally comes forward. And this gives him, Wardley, the range to land his big punches. He may have done this in round 2 and round 10. I say may because it was hard to tell if he was hurt or not. It was hard to tell if he was hurt or not. Anyway, Evander Holyfield, the great Evander Holyfield, would set this type of trap. And James Toney would also use this type of trap to lure an opponent in, to give an opponent a false sense of security. So referees have a hard job. Referees have a hard job. But saying that, Joseph Parker did look like he was intelligently defending himself. And Wardley was smart here. He was very smart here because he took the power off the shots, and that enabled him to throw more shots. So he took the power off the punches, which enabled him to throw more punches. But Parker still looked like he was aware. Now, to play devil's advocate, Wardley is a devastating puncher. He broke Frazier Clark's jaw. That was a real shocking knockout. So maybe that power played a psychological role in the referee's decision making. But Joseph Parker is experienced and probably deserved the benefit of the doubt in hindsight. He probably deserved the benefit of the doubt in hindsight. However, we can't objectively be sure. And the referee's prerogative, what is the referee's prerogative, is to protect the fighters. But I can totally understand Parker's frustration, and I can totally understand Parker's team's frustration at that stoppage. I feel that the 11th round was tough. It was real tough. But could Joseph Parker have done anything different, or is that a bit harsh? Considering the weight he was carrying, 262 pounds, I was surprised that he did not try to hold more in the fight, and he did not try to hold more in round 11. For example, if he put his weight on Wardley, that would have been a barrier for Wardley. Also, the awareness of the referee's close proximity was problematic. Let me explain. Think of it like this. If the referee is on your right side and is moving closer to you because he feels he may stop the fight, then you should let the right hand go to let him know that you're not hurt. So if the referee is moving closer, that indicates he could stop the fight. You should then throw the right hand as an indication that you have awareness. And on the other side, if you throw the left hook, the referee might not be able to see the punch because the left side in that situation is blurring his vision. So as a fighter, especially as an experienced former champion, you would expect that level of awareness. But one could argue that Parker did have that level of awareness, and he didn't react with punches, he reacted with intelligent defending. But the question should be asked, could Parker have managed this situation better? Or did he manage it well, but the referee overreacted? And was it the right call? Parker was calm, and that comes with experience, but maybe considering the referee's actions, he was too calm. Again, this is all hindsight bias. But realistically, you can influence, but you can't change another person's decision. Parker can definitely rebuild. He definitely can rebuild. And I think he's a really good fighter. He performed really well in certain points of this fight. He showed strength, speed, and durability. And considering he carried 262 pounds, I think he managed that really well. He punched fast and he had good movement. But how does Parker rebuild? Well, he could do a tune-up, or he could try to get a rematch with Wardley. I feel that Parker has a great team, so I don't feel he needs to make any changes there. However, you would think if he does have the rematch with Wardley, he would need to make some strategic variations, or he would need to make some strategic changes. And he's more than capable of doing that. I thought Parker's jab looked good, and I thought his double, triple left hooks looked really good as well. Maybe, just maybe, he was just too aggressive, and this gave Wardley too many punching opportunities. So I think if he was to fight again in the rematch, he would need to focus on nullifying Wardley's punch opportunities, similar to how he did against Deontay Wilder. And of course, he would have to deal with that counter right uppercut, because that was what ended the fight, and he would need to train to deal with that right hand to the top of the head, because that was a significant punch in round 2. But what about Wardley? This was a great performance. They're talking about the Usyk fight against the great Usyk. Now, because Wardley has power, he has significant power, he has a significant chance. Also, I feel that Ben Davidson is a massive, massive part of his success. He's a massive part of his success. Those scouting reports that Ben Davidson makes references to, they make a significant difference. And I feel that Usyk will respect Fabio Wardley's power more. He will do more to negate Fabio Wardley's power. But let it be known, Wardley would be a big underdog, probably, but he has a chance against anyone. And it's not just about his power, it's about the traps that he uses to unleash that power. Usyk versus Wardley. Power versus IQ. One is a southpaw mastermind who solves opponents like puzzles in real time. The other is a heavyweight finisher who turns half openings into catastrophe. Tonight's question isn't who's better, it's whose terms does this fight get fought on. If Usyk gets rhythms, angles and distance, he paints a beautiful boxing picture. However, if Wardley creates exchanges, he creates more opportunities to detonate his power punches. So we'll break it down, jabs, power and adjustments, and finish with the questions that are important to this potential fight. So let's talk about the battle of the jabs. Usyk, to my understanding, throws slightly more jabs per round. And he uses his jab in a better way, whether it's probing, feint to jab, jab to chest, and lead hand control to freeze entries. Wardley's jab, he has a good jab, is shorter, it's bursty, it's more of a range finder for the big shot. So I would say the edge in volume, variety and disruption is with Usyk. And even though statistically they may throw the same amount of jabs, remember that Usyk has thrown this same amount against elite opposition. So there is a difference between the opposition that Fabio has faced and the opposition that Usyk has faced, with the exception of Fabio's last fight. So it is logical to assume that Usyk has the edge when it comes to the jab. Wardley actually attempts a higher ratio of power shots when he's in range. Right hand over the top, step left hook, and the shovel to the body. But Usyk's power punches land cleaner over time because he manufactures high percentage looks. He does pull counter lefts and body head switches once the guard reacts. Wardley has a higher outburst, but Usyk has a higher quality. Let me repeat that. Wardley has a higher outburst, but Usyk has a higher quality. And this is not to diminish Wardley's power punches. Remember, We are comparing Wardley to an elite fighter, and that elite fighter is Usyk, effectively the best of the best. Wardley has a great power punching arsenal, but it's great in comparison to other good fighters. But against an elite fighter like Usyk, we have to put it into context, and context is important here. But I would say that both of them excel in these areas, but in different ways. Usyk, he downloads habits early. He jabs for data, feints for data, shifts his feet, and he's downloading your habits. So when he fought the big men like Joshua, Fury, and Dubois, the pattern holds. He starts touch by touch control, then comes the feints, then he punishes the first predictable response. If you overreach, he pivots and tags you. If you chase, he resets the clock with a light jab and makes you pay for overcommitting. The point is this: Usyk's superpower is turning your plan into his rhythm. Usyk's superpower is turning your plan into his rhythm. Dubois tried to punch through the target, for example, but Usyk used this against him because punching through the target gave Usyk more leverage to land his punches. So it's important to realize that, up to date, Usyk has been able to solve every puzzle and he's been able to adapt accordingly. And this shows elite level of boxing intelligence. The danger from Wardley isn't just the punch. It isn't just a punch, it's actually the setup. Because Wardley baits you with a lazy jab, then he dips to the right to invite you to jab, then fires the overhand right, which can cause a devastating knockout. He'll crowd you to smother your return, then take a half step back to catch you with the hook. And interestingly, just like a cunning fox, he will sell you a wobble to lure you into mid-range. And when he lures you into mid-range, he could either land the counter right hand or that devastating counter right uppercut as you square up. In one sense, it's ambush boxing. Create a moment, make you think it's safe, then spring into action. This is the biggest danger, because from what we've seen from Wardley, he will try the trap again and again and again until he's successful, which means you have to be switched on for the full 12 rounds. Usyk, unlike Parker, will be more aware of the danger. So Usyk will be more aware of the danger than Parker. Now remember, Parker has great boxing intelligence and Usyk has great boxing intelligence, but I feel that Parker may have underestimated Fabio's boxing intelligence, and this gave Fabio Wardley punching opportunities. Usyk will not, I believe, give Wardley these punching opportunities. He'll have to earn these punching opportunities. Usyk will counter the counterpuncher. A reference to this is the Daniel Dubois rematch. I feel that Usyk will take greater measures to nullify Wardley because he will take the challenge, or he will respect the power more. It is very unlikely that Wardley can win a points decision, but it will be very hard, extremely hard, to get Usyk to give you clear knockout opportunities, which means that he needs to be consistently setting traps and implementing those traps effectively to increase the likelihood of getting into punching range and landing those devastating power punches. He was able to do it against Joseph Parker because Parker was very aggressive. There's a likelihood that Usyk may use more foot movement, use more feints, and will make it harder for him to be able to implement this. If Usyk makes a mistake, Wardley could win by a devastating knockout or by a stoppage. It is possible, but he would have to trick Usyk, then he would have to execute perfectly. It is possible, but it's a very difficult assignment. And just for context, no one has been able to complete that assignment so far. Usyk is more likely. He is more likely to outbox Wardley. Wardley, for example, has shown good boxing intelligence, but Usyk has elite boxing intelligence, and I believe there's a difference. Also, if Usyk gets his counters off, he could slow the tempo of the fight down, which would favour him. If Wardley tries to punch through the target, Usyk may use this against him. Usyk has that elite boxing ability to either take away or challenge Wardley's confidence. But let's not forget one thing. Wardley is a warrior. And what do warriors do? They keep trying. I suspect that Wardley will keep rolling the dice. He will keep rolling the dice. He is hungry. He is passionate. And by default, that means he is dangerous. There are so many questions to this fight. There are so many questions. So let's explore some of those questions. I wonder what role Ben Davidson, the trainer of Wardley, will play in this fight. Has he seen something that Wardley can execute? And if he has seen something, can Wardley execute it? Additionally, will Usyk grow old overnight? And if he does Wardley have the experience and skill to exploit this? Considering he has done everything, does Usyk still have that hunger? Can Wardley catch Usyk at the right time? If his reflexes are not the same, can he get the right distance for those devastating punches? Or will Wardley be able to compete at this elite level? Can Wardley compete at this elite level? He deserves to be there, but does he have the right tools to be victorious? In the end, this potentially could be a great fight. It has the potential. Clearly, Usyk has lots to lose, and Wardley has everything to gain. And from a logical standpoint, Usyk would outbox Wardley. But logic said that Parker would outbox Wardley. Logic said that Hooney would have completed rounds 10, 11 and 12 and won a unanimous decision. But Wardley has been defying logic, and the byproduct of that is a great level of confidence. He knows how powerful he is, and he knows the importance of staying patient to land significant punches. Usyk is a legend, a modern-day great, but Wardley brings real opposition. A confident man is a dangerous man. A man with nothing to lose is a dangerous man, and a warrior always has a chance. This is a genuine threat to the crown.